If you're in B2B and you are starting out, your top priority should be mastering the text post on LinkedIn.
Why should someone stop scrolling and listen to you? Telling that origin story is a great way to establish that upfront. When you find a winner, it's really hard to find a winner on LinkedIn and something that really hits. So when you find that, drive it into the ground until it stops working as well.
We got to 5 million ARR. Here's our complete list of tools. That post will crush every time.
As sort of a strategy you use to make sure lead magnets are valuable enough.
Would I stop scrolling and download it?
And it's a 6-part drip series with 15 videos on how we got our B2B ready, go completely off the grid for 7 days. The lead magnet was really sold through the content of the post. I mean, you see, it just like blew up, 333,000 impressions, 3,000 comments, right? So there you go.
Resist the urge, especially now with how good AI tools are getting. Don't use it to one-shot your text post.
You having a deep understanding of what a good post is and what LinkedIn wants from you will enable the cast of characters to grow.
Just to kind of really break it down, this is not where you sell your product. This is where you sell your product. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're joined by Tommy Clark. He is the guy who got Adam from 0 to 20,000 LinkedIn followers. So literally helped really Adam build his LinkedIn audience from that ground floor. He has since built a 7-figure agency as the CEO of Compound. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Super excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. We got a lot to get into. Adam, what are 3 things that people are going to learn today if they stick around till the end of the show?
The 3 things you're going to learn today are, number 1, the 9 strategies Tommy taught me to get my founder brand from 0 to 20,000 in 6 months. Number 2, you're going to learn my favorite strategy, which is credibility jacking, how it works and how to use other people's audiences to grow your own. And then my secret weapon of type of post. When my LinkedIn account stalls out, I do this one thing and it's easy and anybody can do it. You're going to learn how I get my LinkedIn account unstuck when it gets stuck.
Heck yes. We're breaking into like the science of LinkedIn, less so just throwing posts at the wall. What exactly are we doing? So these 9 strategies, let's just dive in. Let's not waste any time. So number 1, there's this idea of like the origin story. Why is this an incredibly important strategy for building trust and just a good sort of go-to starting theme or I guess content pillar-ish type of thing?
Nearly every client we start with, this is the first post we'll do. And it's often one of the best performing, if not the best performing posts in that first month. It just consistently hits. And if someone's starting from scratch on LinkedIn, probably the place I'd recommend starting. So just if we look at the numbers, it crushes. As far as why, usually there's a reason why you ended up starting the company you're starting. You don't just end up starting a company for no apparent reason. Sometimes you find a random problem you think you can solve, and there's not really a huge tie-in between that and your previous experience. But most of the time, for most everyone in the chat, something in their previous career or in another company they started in the past led them to start the company they're working on now. So telling that story is a great way to connect with your ICP. Also, people are just kind of nosy and they want to kind of understand how you got into the game. So starting with that as your first post tends to be a really easy way to break the ice on LinkedIn.
What type of things do you usually include in an origin story? Like, what are some key sort of moments in someone's story or journey that they should make sure they include in that first kind of kickoff?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's going to depend a little bit on the specific person, your specific story, but usually you want some sort of conflict. Stories are made in the conflict. So if there was some sort of negative experience you went through that led you to start your company, or some sort of conflict that made you feel so strongly that you had to build a product to solve this problem, you want that to be the core component of the origin story. So I'd start with that conflict and then transition into how that led to you starting your company. Another super tactical thing is I would definitely include some sort of photo or image of you with your co-founder or something from the early days of your company. That's a super tactical thing that we just see help performance there. But the single biggest thing to consider is nailing what that conflict is going to be, because people on LinkedIn and social platforms in general want to have that sort of conflict to latch them in.
And by the way, if you want this argument articulated to you in great detail about the founder story and why it's so compelling, read that book, Dave Gerhardt. It's very good.
Yeah, that's the
I mean, that's
founder
kind of what we're
electronic
talking about
Bible,
here.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
One other thing I just like part of that origin story is something to just kind of, I think that people who have really good founder brands really latch onto is the fact that they had experienced the problem. It like almost
Yes.
establishes this like I'm one of you kind of deal instead of like I'm just trying to sell something to you. And I really love that.
Yeah,
all right.
there's that. One more thing there is like there's that I'm one of you, and it also establishes your credibility. So if you're trying to push this product, why should, or even just trying to build an audience around a specific topic, why should someone stop scrolling and listen to you? Especially now when AI like Claude or ChatGPT can get you a pretty half decent post from scratch that's more generic how-to advice. Like, why should someone stop scrolling and listen to you? Telling that origin story is a great way to establish that upfront.
That's great. Let's get into the second strategy here. So we got lead magnets. So I think a lot of people in here, or just a lot of people who've done marketing or sales or some sort of founder thing in the past, will try to cast out some piece of content to get people to latch onto it. I would say more often than not, a lot of lead magnets are pretty weak. I mean, a lot of posts are weak. Like it's hard to make something compelling. So I don't
Yeah.
mean to bash people, but like it is a challenging thing. So is there something you, or like a sort of a strategy you use to make sure lead magnets are valuable enough to warrant maybe a comment? And then how could you maybe I guess convert those comments into DMs, messages, and kind of move along that process?
Yeah, there's two simple filters I like to use to gauge whether or not something's really valuable. One is just ask myself, would I, if I were in this ICP that I'm trying to hit, would I stop scrolling and download this? Would I find this valuable? If not, probably not good enough. Two, which is somewhat related, would I be comfortable charging $50 for this? If the answer is no, probably not strong enough. You see some people be able to get away with promoting sort of subpar lead magnets, and those can work the first time or the second time. But for something that's really going to get a lot of traction and also deliver, I think if you ask yourself those two questions, you should be in a pretty good spot.
Do you usually do downloadable content? I know there's a lot of like I've done this too, like cheat sheets on LinkedIn where you're just trying to get a bunch of comments. What do you think about those compared to, I guess, a deeper commitment one like, a downloadable file or something?
Yeah, so what we've seen work well, and this specific format, I think, is sort of on the tail end of the hype cycle, but that whole comment a certain term for access to the lead magnet, it still does work. I know people have mixed feelings on this. Undeniably, about a month or two ago, it was really, really crushing. And what I like to do there is have the prompt for them to comment. And then when they comment, we'll send the connection request and send the link for them to download the file. So we still capture their email address. Some people don't love the extra step there, but I think if you can actually get those email addresses, it's a better play long term. So that's one way to do it. And then another thing is just simply driving them to a link to download the lead magnet or get access to the newsletter. I think you can go either or. People like the comment for access one because it sort of boosts the posts in the LinkedIn algorithm. Although I think I saw recently that they said they were going to tamper that down a bit, so I don't know how that'll end up playing out, but it still works quite well.
And I just want to share a couple examples. Like here was
Yeah.
one that was my ad guys. They teased this Miro board about all of the ads we were running in a little video. Ali did, and then it was like comment paid, and we'll send you the full Miro board, right? So that's like a great example. And honestly, if you've been following me for a long time, you probably would pay $50 for that. You know what I mean? And I'll just give you one more real quick. Yeah, so this one right here, we replaced the comment me with the actual lead magnet, but this was like when we were pulling that AI stunt, and it's a 6-part drip series with 15 videos on how we got our B2B ready to go completely off the grid for 7 days. So that's like, those were like perfect execution, perfect lead magnet. The lead magnet was really sold through the content of the post.
Yeah.
And the comment thing was ripping at that time. And it just, I mean, you see, it just like blew up 330,000 impressions, 3,000 comments, right? So there you go.
Adam,
I'll
are you
stop
going to
sharing my
recycle that at all? Like that AI content? You're going to do like another stunt around the holidays? Like, what are you?
You know,
Because you already have all that.
I love the drip series. We've gotten like 2,000 people to sign up for it through various promotional angles. You know, it's just like the opposite approach to AI that everyone thinks. It's like, I have this business problem. I'm going to use out of the box AI to solve it. And I'm going to keep my product so simple that AI can handle all the customer interactions, rather than like this 90-part N8N table, book 75 demos with 89 different reply trees and like whatever. It's like, I don't know. So I think I should be promoting this asset in a lot of different ways. And I have not done a great job at doing it. Yeah, I guess it's November and we put it out in August, right? So yeah, we should figure out how to get that out there more. I can drop it in the chat if anybody wants to subscribe to it. It was a perfect lead magnet.
I
There
think
you
too
go.
with lead
That's a
magnets.
good
Like,
call out.
oh yeah, you go, Dom.
I was going to say that's a good call out. I think a lot of founders are nervous about repeating themselves, even in post topics themselves, and sort of a side tangent here. But when you find a winner, it's really hard to find a winner on LinkedIn and something that really hits. So when you find that, drive it into the ground until it stops working as well. You don't have to do it every single day, but like if you have a winning format or a winning topic or asset, use it again and again on a regular basis as long as it continues to work. Most people aren't going to realize that you're repeating yourself. And even if they do, if people are seeing your content that often that they do pick up on the fact that you're talking about similar topics, it's a good sign that they like your stuff anyway. So when you have those winners, don't be afraid to use them again and again.
And by the way, whenever this topic comes up, two things come to mind. Andy Muborn, who's very good at LinkedIn, he said, you don't post on LinkedIn to get followers and likes. You post on LinkedIn to get a library of greatest hits, which gets you followers and likes. And I just think, like, thinking about it in that way is so instructive. And then I love, which some people on this call have probably heard this story. I'm dropping a spreadsheet in here. So I was driving home from Aspen 3 years ago, right when I was really honing in on my voice to this B2B crowd. And I loved something about Chris Walker, like just his tone and like how I don't even know what it was. So I listened to his podcast for 6 hours, like in a row, you know, just like bam, 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 bam. And like 2 hours in, I'm like, I started hearing the same stuff come up over and over again. In the next 4 hours, it was exactly the same topics, which I thought was you know, it was just the first time that idea had hit me. It's like, wow, this guy is saying the same shit over and over again. And then I would read his stuff and it was like, I'd think it was a new post. And then he'd wrap it up and I'd be like, oh, multi-touch attribution again. He fucking got me. You know what I mean? Like, so A, that's how you do it, right? Like Chris Walker, well, he's something different now, but 3 years ago, he stood for these core ideas like, you know, hero pipeline, attribution screwed, like, you know, paid brand search terms are a waste of money, whatever it was. And furthermore, I tell people to do this because I did this and it was revelatory for me. Like I literally I listened to everything he was talking about and I looked at it in his LinkedIn and I made a spreadsheet. And then I literally made my version of what I could say that Chris Walker was saying. And then that was like everything I was jamming on for the next year. And like, unsurprisingly, it crushed because when someone's crushing, there's a reason why they're crushing. Like the world likes that. So this is literally a spreadsheet that I made in like 2024. when I started getting really good at this B2B LinkedIn stuff, and I was pattern matching Chris Walker. Like I was taking his pillars and sub pillars and saying like, what could mine be? Right. So there you go. Another lead magnet.
I also think like just building on that, like you as the writer are so much more sensitive to the similarity between your remixed ideas than the reader is by like a crazy long shot. Like you may read it and be like, I just said that same thing, but like if you remix the format a little bit, kind of the whatever, the setting of the story, like no one's going to connect those dots and they'll find
Yeah,
it valuable. And also people like to hear different things in different ways. So it still adds value there.
And there's this other part of it, which it's like, let's say a big post for somebody's 50,000 impressions, right? Like that's a pretty big post for most people posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's like hundreds of millions of people on LinkedIn. There's probably millions on LinkedIn in your ICP. You could post on LinkedIn and have the biggest post of your life at 50,000 impressions. And if you had 10,000 people on your newsletter and you sent it out at that exact moment, there would be barely any overlap between the two audiences. So like, keep that in mind. Even if you have a huge post, hardly anybody saw it.
Find your winners, remix them. Keep going.
And just to wrap this point up, like the reason Chris Walker was who he was is because it's because he said the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
When you say the same thing over and the master says the same thing over and over again, and the audience doesn't know that he's repeating himself, right? That's the true master at all this. And what that's doing is it's reinforcing a character that you are creating in the mind of your audience of yourself, right? Somebody asked in the comments, Adam, what are your pillars, right? Like right now, the overarching theme is people know me as a bootstrapped SaaS founder who builds in public with radical transparency, right? Like that's kind of the overarching thing. The kind of main pillars, it's like bootstrap versus VC, then the actual build in public motion. It's like I'm doing all of this stuff and I'm reporting on it. In 2023, I was talking a lot about the future of go-to-market. It's kind of like, played out a little bit. Like, I don't think, like the BDR thing has changed enough to where it's not even worth talking about anymore. And, I think right now I'm like, I have made this summer, I made an AI pillar for myself. There was so much AI content was sucking the air out of LinkedIn. So I literally had to create my own narrative. What did I do? I'm like, I'm going to leave literally out of nowhere, fabricated with no prior AI experience, fabricated the story that all our B2B employees were going to go off the grid for a week at the end of the summer and AI was going to run our business. And it was unbelievable how much attention it got, which like flows directly into the funnel. So yeah, I would say those are my pillars right now.
I think the AI one is like, so we have trend jacking on our list as a thing to go through today. And I know right before, before that AI thing launched, I would say maybe sometime early this year is when we started talking about like, okay, it's very clear that most things about AI get this like turbocharge, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere. Like people are just like infinitely fascinated with it. So then it was like, okay, I need to become like a bit of an expert at that and then create some sort of spectacle around the idea that people could sort of follow along. So I guess let's dive more into that, like trend jacking. First of all, did you do any trend jacking before the AI one? Like what were those, maybe in the e-commerce days or?
Dude, I think you could look at this Chris Walker spreadsheet and say I was trend jacking him in a way. I don't know. Like I knew, you know what I mean? Like I knew these topics, some of it, like he was talking about this demand capture creation a lot and he was kind of the only one. And then I started screaming about it and like people thought it was my idea, but it was not. It was his. I mean, it probably wasn't his. Let's be fair.
It was like trend jacking the format of it.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to reach people in his universe and I saw him talk. Yeah. That kind of a trend, right? This idea of go-to-market screwed is kind of like the idea of AI, right? In 2023, the idea of BDRs don't work like the predictable revenue. This was the trend.
Yeah.
Chris Walker said it 100 times, predictable revenue is dead. I go and say it, and it resonates with a different group of people because of who I am, right? Chris Walker's known as this marketing guru. I'm a software founder. It just comes, it feels differently coming from me. Because like, I'm talking about how I tried to hire a bunch of BDRs under the predictable revenue model. I had to fire them all. Like Chris isn't exactly saying that. And I think some of the best content, which is another point on this, Hormozy says, go do shit, then talk about it, right? Like when you can actually, and I think that's what Tommy was saying about AI can generate how-to content. What it can't generate is I did this content, right? So yeah, that I'd say the big trend, Jack, was predictable revenue models dead in 2023. Ecom, I hadn't found a trend to Jack because it was
that was
strange.
part of the struggle with that audience, because
Yeah.
it goes back to like the inherent credibility that you didn't have with
Mhm.
that e-commerce audience, which you clearly do have with the SaaS audience.
Yeah, it's almost like for ecom, we should have run a meme account like Triple Whale. You know what I mean? Like it would have, you know what I mean? Like would have done
Yeah.
better, right?
I mean, a lot of what did get you this for those first few thousand followers and lots of impressions early on was that whole like curating tweet screenshots and even
Yeah,
some
that
memes
was-
too. That was
Yeah.
a different time on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it worked back then.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I just want to address something that someone asked. Was the AI employee stunt not true? It was 100% true. And the lesson there is like if there's interesting stuff happening already in your company, like really the basis of that was Adam, Tate, and Rob, the only three people that would speak to customers, are going to be away for a week all at the same time. And there's already these chatbots set up. So it was just a matter of like crafting an interesting story around something that was already happening. And I think that is like, that gets us into kind of build in public, which I think we should talk about next, which is like just
For sure.
documenting the heck out of everything you're doing, like ruthlessly sharing your story. Were you doing that with like when you were with Tommy? Is that when that
Yeah,
sort of started?
So like there was the debate, which Tommy like he like articulates it so clearly. It's like I was conflicted about this because it is a fact. I am not the founder of a large Shopify store. How am I going to write to them in a way that they care about and in a way that I'm credible, right? So I knew from any type of build in public content that I'd ever consumed from back in the day when I was stuck at 3 million, I had no idea how to get out, that it was incredibly valuable. Nathan Barry was doing it every once in a while. Every time he put out a blog post, I would just devour it. Anytime anybody would write, a few other people did it too. I forget who, but like anytime anybody would just like write about what was going on in their business, who was like farther ahead of me, of where I was at, like I'd be all over it. So I knew that content was valuable. At the time we started, my business had these very unique numbers to it, which is kind of like similar to RB2B. It was 12 million ARR with 6 people. So like, as another content guy explained to me, he's like, if you just say that sentence, everybody who hears it's going to go, well, I don't make $12 million and I got a lot more than 6 people. You know what I mean?
That's your hook.
So I knew that was super unique. And then I knew that I was willing to like share my P&L, which like no one does. I don't even do that anymore. Although I probably should now that I mention it, because everybody else is emulating the build in public posts I do. So it's like, what will no one do? It's like, here's my P&L. So I knew I was willing to do that. And that stuff crushes on social because it's just like, look, how are you going to stand out? It's like, what do I have that is unique about me? That revenue thing to employee thing was super unique, and it still is, which is why a lot of the posts you see out of me are like RB. Like, it's not like I want to post this RB2B hit 6.5 million with 3 employees and blank, but like it just hits because nobody else can say that, right? So it's a massive credibility statement. So it started because I knew that ecom founders had general business problems also, and they were all curious about SaaS also. But then over time, that side of the content just did so much better than the ecom side that eventually all my attention went there, and then we launched a product into it.
Yeah, I think just in general, like the fact that it was such a big spectacle. I mean, because it was valuable. Like people are like as people, we're pretty stingy with our time, our attention, and our money for the most part. Some of us are a little more freely spending in certain categories, but um yeah, like you gotta have something like people aren't idiots. Like you have to have something actually compelling. And I think I use this example all the time, but like from a content standpoint, if you want the best lesson in compelling sort of content, watch like the first 10 seconds of 5 MrBeast videos. And you're
Of
like,
what?
well, of 5 MrBeast videos. Just
Oh
watch
yeah,
how
dude.
compel like you're like, I have to see who wins $1 million for staying on this island as long as
Yeah.
possible. Or like, can this, 45-year-old janitor beat Tom Brady in a throwing competition? Like just these ridiculous things, but it's like, yeah, it
Yeah,
makes you want to spend
and
your time.
his
Your attention.
so like my 10-second drop off is like 30% at least, and his is like zero. I literally like none.
All right. I want to talk about there's two things that are two of our strategies here. So we've covered the origin story, we've done lead magnets, we talked about trend jacking, and most recently building in public. And also when you're building in public, like if you're trying to sell to marketing people, not founders, and you're talking about your founder numbers, like not, make sure you're building the right thing in public or casting the right thing out in public. Those people will be interested in.
Yeah.
But the next two I want to talk about credibility jacking and this cast of characters. And I just think they can be pretty intertwined if done right. So we'll start with this cast of characters. Now, I know a big way a lot of people, well, let me preface this. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed it seems like all of these people in a certain bubble all know each other, right? Like Adam and kind of his cast of characters, the Michelle Liebens and Taylor Heron and Alec Paul and all these other people. And yeah, I guess we'll start with that. This cast of characters really kicked off, I would say, late 2023, early 24, especially like with building link or RB2B particularly, like really building up these people who were a part of the journey, and allows them to sort of cast out their net even wider. So, Adam, when did you, or I guess either Adam or Tommy, when do you guys sort of think about cast of characters in the growth process of LinkedIn? So, like, is that something somebody just starting out should think about? Is this more of a midterm strategy? What do you think about that?
Tommy, answer first, and then I'll give my 2 cents after you answer.
Yeah, I view it as more of a midterm strategy. If you're just starting out, nail one account as the founder. And then the reason why the cast of characters approach works so well is um, on LinkedIn, you can technically post 2, 3, 4 times a day. No one really does it, and I wouldn't really recommend it. It's hard to maintain the quality bar that's necessary to actually do that well. Versus a platform like Twitter or X, where you can just post 10 times per day and sort of scale your content output that way by just posting more. You don't really have that lever as much on LinkedIn. So once you sort of top out, if you're posting once a day consistently, or even twice a day consistently, how do you get more output from there? You layer in other accounts. You can layer in the rest of your co-founders, other leadership on your team, even getting more junior employees on your team to start posting, and incentivizing that. That was something we did at Triple Whale. And I mean, I was one of those more junior employees who had an active social presence, and it did help us quite a bit. And it creates this sort of echo chamber on the timeline where there's certain companies on LinkedIn where I'll go on and I can't scroll more than a few times without seeing something from someone on their team or their company page or whatever it may be. If you have multiple people from the start on your team who are proficient in content and want to do that, no problem doing that from the get-go. But if you're really starting from scratch, I would probably start with one account, nail that, and then scale it from there.
I believe that if you're in B2B and you are starting out, your top priority should be mastering the text post on LinkedIn first for yourself. If you do that before you do anything else, you can add video later, like whatever. You having a deep understanding of what a good post is and what LinkedIn wants from you will enable the cast of characters to grow. If you don't know which way's up yet, and you start trying to like get people to like post from your company, it's It's just not going to work.
It turns into a mess real quick.
Yeah.
And what you said about the text post is super on point, because once you master that, you understand how to script a video and you understand how to do everything else. So if you just master the fundamental text-based content on LinkedIn, all the other skills are easy.
Yeah, for sure.
On top of that, video is like a whole, there's another, there are additional skills. You got to be like kind of charismatic in front of the camera. Like, you know, it's,
Which by the way, like
have a good editor. Like
that, I think for most people, like we all look pretty comfortable on camera. Tommy, I don't know how long you've been sitting in front of cameras doing this. Like,
dude, I did 200 podcast recordings for a fitness coaching business that I had in college before I made any money or like did anything in marketing.
right.
So a lot of reps.
Yeah, it's like I got to go back and dig some of these videos up from like 2017 when I started trying to make social video content. Man, it was not good. And then in 2020, I started doing with my wife, and she was so bad in the beginning. Like I'm like, like I can't even describe how bad she was on camera. And then I'm like, Helen, like, go in a mirror and like look at what your face looks like when you're trying to do this. And then the next video, it was even worse. She like, it was just, she had no humanity to her. And then fast forward like a couple months, people were literally inbounding her to be in their B2B video ads. She was like, Helen from Get Emails was the most searched Get Emails term of anything. Which was hysterical. Because we did these videos every week, and like she was like, she just became like hilarious, and she's like cute and like, you know, whatever. And very charismatic, but it takes, you know, if at first it looks like shit, just like keep going.
it's always going to be shit in the beginning.
You know what I mean? Like and it's like, yeah, you just got to keep pressing with video.
Or text for that matter. Anything. Like you just be comfortable that you're gonna in the beginning you're gonna put out bad content to very few people, and then slowly you put out better content. It'll reach more people.
The good thing about the bad content too is like because it's bad, it's not getting in front of that many people, so not that many people are seeing it. So there's really no reason to worry. And what I would say on that too is resist the urge, especially now with how good AI tools are getting. Don't use it to one shot your text post. Like suffer through the 2 hours that it'll take you to chip away to a somewhat tolerable LinkedIn post. Like that time you spend struggling will make it so you can sit down and write a post from start to finish in 20 minutes 6 months from now. Don't rob yourself of that trial and error.
That is an amazing note. All right, so we have the cast of characters. Let's get into this credibility jacking. So like a good way to set this up is I think we've all seen really famous people, or like some people that we're somewhat interested in. I shouldn't say really famous people. Someone that we are personally interested in. For me, that could be like some online guitar teacher or something, or like some sort of niche person or whatever, but like there's an audience that follows them. So that is sort of this idea of credibility jacking, where it's like if you are able to get someone else's content and words and ideas out in front of people, you can kind of leverage with it and then use that to build your own ideas on top of. You can sort of get like a little step up. It's like a little step stool. Is there a mistake that people usually make when they first try to start credibility jacking? Do they go too big too fast? Are they going straight to trying to credibility jack Sam Altman? I'm curious how you are getting. Yeah.
The mistake people make when they try to credibility jack, and this also applies to trend jacking too, they become more of a curation page or like a news reporting page than actually sharing their opinions. If you're not careful, you can create content that gets a lot of visibility and engagement that's pretty much just you rehashing someone else's takes or someone else's story or a popular news story, but you're not adding your own expert opinion as it relates to your ICP. So you're not building a lot of trust. There can be a time and a place for that type of post, but what you want to do is use the popular figure in the hook to get their attention and then sort of like sneak your real opinions and takes later in the body. So by the time someone's done reading your post, they're like, oh, Adam actually has a pretty good take on this. Let me follow him for the rest of his takes. They're not just following you because you're like a news reporter or curating niche business stories.
I like that. So it's like, don't just, yeah, you got to have your own original ideas for people to, maybe credibility jacking will get you some eyeballs, but like they need to stick around for something.
Yeah.
Like they're not just going to stick around for curation for the most part. I know curators in many
If that's your
domains.
business model, if that's like the type of page you want to build, the type of personality you want to build, go for it. But if you're trying to sell a software or service, probably not the best play.
Let's get down into some like really tactical types of posts people can make. We have two of them on our these are two of our 9 strategies here. One of them is this ICP tech stack post, and the other is a fundraising announcement or some other type of, whatever, I guess, business milestone announcement. So ICP tech stack post,
Mhm.
excuse me, is that still taking off? I know last year that was like everything. And the idea of this is basically writing out strategies and tool sets that your ICP would want to use.
Yeah, there are people that build their entire audience off of just curating tools and resources for people. I just talked about curation a minute ago, but it actually can be a good way to get traction. Especially in the go-to-market tech category, people eat up these posts and they love seeing the savable infographics with all the different tools and comparing different tools. And what you can also do and should do is when you're writing the copy for this content, tag those companies that you're referencing. So ideally, they'll engage, their founders will engage, or their team members will engage. That'll amplify your content to their audiences. So definitely does still work. I would be careful not to just spam it endlessly. But this is sort of a classic that you can do probably once a month.
Dude, every time I do it, it rips.
Yeah.
I even did the inverse because I dropped it in the chat.
Yeah.
Alex saw that the Hrefs guys were like, we got to 150 million ARR without. Boom. And so it's like we got to 5 million ARR. Here's our complete list of tools. That post will crush every time. And then the inverse is kind of interesting too. Just like lists do well.
Yeah, lists don't die. It's just like a consistent winning format. I mean, even the source material for what we're discussing today originated as a listicle post on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And here's the list of tools post that I've done. I don't know. Like it's probably once a quarter. I'll just be like, let's get the old list of tools back out. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're having a slow week and you need a bump, list of tools, share your P&L, do both of those, and you're gonna have a record week again.
And then if you write it in a way to where it's like kind of like this, it's the slope that always is.
Yeah,
it's the in slope and the out slope and the back in slope.
Especially with the parentheses, like it just makes it this like round. So it looks so much different than everything else, which is just it's just words and paragraphs. I think this is also a good way to like build your cast of characters, or it can be. I know doing sort of different lists and getting roped into lists, we got introduced to a ton of people, especially kind of 2024 RB2B. And that's where some of these strategies start to blend together, where it's like, you're part of these lists or you make these lists. Those people comment who are a part of the list. Now they got more traction. Now they want to talk about you and you talk about them because it makes content writing easier. Then you're sort of building in public too, if you're actually working together. So like, that's where these things all sort of start to blend a bit. You'll see these are a good chunk of some of our cast of characters right down here. Okay. So the ICP tech stack post works. A huge thing I see all the time as like with a lot of early creators is on LinkedIn particularly, is this like business, like PR newswire feed almost. They're like just trying to say all of these things that their business is doing. They're not making it interesting. And then occasionally they'll have like a milestone thing hit, and that works. But Adam, you got thoughts on that?
So advice that I would give anyone is like if you talk about your product, so people do not want to see your ad. There's a reason why you have to pay to put an ad on social platforms. It's because people don't want to see your ad, right? It's a magical superpower when you can get people to absorb your mind share and all of your thought leadership, and then they'll just investigate what you do, right? That's amazing because you're not paying to distribute that. But like, I don't know how many different ways I can say this. Like, no one cares about you talking about what you do, like what your product does. They kind of care about like what you did, like how you built something, because that's interesting. But like talking about features in a product is the worst content possible because it's an ad. I talk about our B2B in a way where it's like a character in this drama that I'm unfolding in front of you. And I refer to it as though really it's like this annoying adolescent child. I like can't, it's unruly. I like can't get it under control. Like, I don't know what to do about it. I need help. I'm like, I treat LinkedIn, the LinkedIn audience as like my therapist for my child, which is our B2B. I'm not talking about what our B2B does. I'm talking about the fact that I'm pissed off at the churn. I'm talking about the fact that like, I don't understand, I don't understand the competitive dynamic and what I should do. Right? Like things like that. But it's really a different philosophy than just like, here's a news feed of our product releases. And we probably underinvest in that, the news feed of product releases. But like, it's just because I'm so philosophically oriented to doing it this other way. Right? Like edutainment, I need to like teach people and entertain them at the same time. And me talking about features in my product does not do that. Either one of those things,
Yeah, we had an episode like 3 weeks ago, maybe. And we were talking about the profile page, right? So like just to kind of really break it down, this is not where you sell your product.
Mhm.
This is where you sell your product, right? On this top tile here. Identify 70 to 80% of your website traffic, person level website visitor identity, just like a straight up pitch for it. But they're only going to get there if they're actually interested in what you're saying. And now they know not only are they interested in you and have trust, but now they see what you do. So it's like that next layer. Like, don't just sell your stuff everywhere. No, literally nobody wants that. Okay. Now we're talking. So, like, I think this is the last one is this idea of dog fooding. So we did the origin story, lead magnets, building in public, credibility jacking, cast of characters, fundraising announcement, trend jacking, ICP tech stack post. I actually didn't think I was worried we weren't going to get through all these, but we've kept it tight.
We made it.
And we've made it. And this last one is kind of what we're talking about. Like, so for kind of dog fooding, I guess. Tommy, I want to hear from you. Like, what do you view as dog fooding, and why is that important? And especially kind of coming off of us just telling people why they shouldn't talk about the product.
Well, this is a great way to talk about your product in a way that people actually care about. Like Adam was just mentioning, you make the product a character in your content. Dog fooding is how you do that. And if you're actually using your product and getting good results from it, and you're able to document that and share it on LinkedIn, it's probably one of the few compelling ways to make product-oriented content. You're essentially your own case study, and people actually do enjoy reading that type of stuff. And it doesn't always have to be you documenting your use of the product. For example, Tyler Denk, the CEO of Beehive, writes his newsletter on Beehive, and the newsletter itself is just super compelling and enjoyable to read. And so a lot of people have signed up for it. And every once in a while, he'll drop like occasionally to say, by the way, I built this on Beehive. So that's a great way to get people invested in following your product without having to do the typical Loom video walkthrough of features that nobody really cares about. You're making your product a character in your content and using it to tell a story versus, hey, here's my product, buy my shit.
This is especially helpful if you can actually use your product. If you can't use your product, if your business, if you're just not your business's customer for RB2B, RB2B can use RB2B. They have a website. We like to see who's on it. Is this a strategy that should be abandoned, altered? If altered, what does that look like?
Honestly, I don't use RB2B. It's a confession. It's not really built for a PLG company with no sales team with a wild amount of volume. So like, it's not useful for me. Even if I saw valuable people on our website, I wouldn't reach out to them because I don't want to be on phone calls. So I'm actually in a category that we can't use our own product. The ICP is something totally different than us.
Yeah. I don't think you have to.
Retention runs it through Clay and does a sophisticated Clay workflow, and they filter for ICP and pop it into Slack and they reach out.
Yeah, I don't think for each of these formats, really, the only one I would say you should absolutely use 100% without question is the origin story. The rest of them, you can sort of take it or leave it depending on the specific context for your business. Like, for example, Adam, if you were still mainly focused on building your LinkedIn audience for retention.com, the building in public content might not even make that much sense for that specific audience. So you want to pick and choose depending on your specific company. So in the case of dog fooding, if there's not really a applicable way to use it, you can just pick different formats that actually work for your specific business.
Sick.
Yeah. All right. So we've covered all of our 9 strategies. Any final kind of tidbits, I guess, values that you have or principles that you like to abide by, Tommy, when someone is, let's think about the people starting out, just trying to get traction here. They haven't quite achieved traction yet.
If you can't commit to posting on LinkedIn at least 5 days a week for 6 months straight, you probably don't deserve to have an audience on the platform. I think it takes a lot of reps to get good at LinkedIn content. It's not all that complicated. Like, all the formats we talked about today aren't that complex. The best practices that will get you a lot of your results aren't that fancy. Like, just focus on your topic selection, the hooks, work on your copywriting. There's not anything crazy that you're going to do that's going to speed run your growth. It's really just a matter of putting in the reps. And I find that the best clients we work with at Compound genuinely enjoy the process of content creation. Like, Adam's a perfect example of this, where he got to a point where he actually wanted to start writing his own content and doing his own stuff. So if you are someone who can't commit that time that it takes to get good at the process of writing for LinkedIn, it's okay. You're just not going to have an audience. But if you can commit that time, LinkedIn is one of the most powerful channels that you can have on your side as a B2B founder.
So the rationale for the post every day, like, a big part of it is just getting your writing reps in.
Understand just get the reps in. Like, in theory, you could post 2-3 times a week and probably be fine if you're really good at writing. But you're just not going to get to that point where those 2 or 3 posts are going to do much if you're starting from scratch and have no social content experience. Like, a big reason why RB2B grew at the trajectory that it did was because Adam had spent that time building an audience beforehand. A big reason why
Only reason. Not a big reason.
Yeah. The only reason. Same thing for my agency, right? Like, Compound grew nicely, and we've had a wait list since day one, still to this day, because I spent the 5 years before that building my personal brand on LinkedIn and X and building up that trust, so that when I said, hey, I have an agency, it was easy from there. So it takes time, but when it hits, it's worth all the effort you'll put in.
Heck.
Sick, man. That's a great place to wrap it. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I guess this should be no surprise. LinkedIn, I'm posting there pretty much every day at this point. Just look up Tommy Clark. I also post a bit on YouTube. About once a week, I'll post the more in-depth long-form guides on how to grow on LinkedIn. Adam, I saw you're stepping up your YouTube game. It's good to see.
The trend is excellent. The numbers are small. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, but YouTube has been a big channel for us too. So pretty active over there. And LinkedIn and YouTube.
Sweet. Thanks for coming on, Tommy. It's a great show. Next week, we have one of the founder heroes, Alan D'Souza. Not sure if anybody knows anything about him. He has a business. I forget what it's called, but they like sell. He like sells huge volumes of inboxes like into Instantly and Smart Lead and stuff as like OEM or whatever. And he's like probably at 15 million ARR in 18 months. He's like the fastest growing non-AI startup I've ever heard of. Besides these guys, SendBlue, who got to 12 million ARR in a year, also not an AI company. We have them on in a few weeks too. So Alon D'Souza's next week. Please show up. It'll be great. Tommy, thank you again. This was excellent. Sorry we couldn't be in a studio. It's always a little better when we are, but alas, they're Yahoos. Didn't know how to
Okay,
work
this is
Zoom.
great.
Yeah, what are you going to do? All right, guys. See everybody next week.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Bye, everyone.